How's everyone doing this afternoon? Keeping cool? So welcome. This is GeronniCon's first panel, first ever panel for the first GeronniCon. Thank you all so much for being here. Our first panel today is going to be how to become a stormtrooper, which is very exciting and something that I've always wanted to know. So I want to thank Randy and Angel Tyson and their lovely children for being here today. They're representing the 501st Legion and also the Mandalorian Mercs Club. So we really appreciate that they're here today to talk to us about costuming and building costumes and why they love doing what they do. So I have a few questions for them, and I know you guys probably have some questions, but really quick, I would like to let Randy say a couple things.
How you guys doing? Everybody hear me okay? All right. My name is Randy Tyson. My wife Angel, Brianna, and Brandon. Actually, yes, the stormtrooper is a girl. That's my wife. She's actually a female. Females can be stormtroopers too. So yeah. We're members of the 501st Legion as well as the Mandalorian Mercs Costume Club. They're international, Star Wars international costuming clubs, charity groups, do a lot of stuff, nonprofit, both of them are nonprofit organizations. There's also a third, the Rebel Legion is another big one. They do I'm going to say the good guys and put it in quotes because it's all a matter of perspective. So we do a lot of charity events, a lot of Make-A-Wish events, a lot of kids' cancer events, hospital visits and things like that. All the groups you have to be over 18 to become a member, but the groups all have a under 18 group as well, which is what Brianna and Brandon are members of. The 501st group is the Galactic Academy, which she's a member of as a Princess Leia. I don't know if you noticed she's a Princess Leia. Princess Leia specifically from the end of Episode 4, Star Wars A New Hope, where she was presenting the medals to Luke and Han, and Chewbacca didn't get a medal, but that's all right. Brandon is in his Mandalorian. The Mando group for the under 18 is the Verdika Corps, which Verdika in Mandoa means little warriors. So he's our little warrior today. The kids groups get monthly challenges. They're a little backed up right now with the way they're doing them, but the plan is they get monthly challenges, that they're assigned a training officer. They get monthly challenges and get to do things to earn patches or a little sticker basically for their online profile on the club group. All of the armor, all the costumes, I don't want to jump on any questions just you got, but everything is all handmade. It's all handmade, custom made by us. The only things that are purchased were my helmet, which is the white Mandalorian helmet over there, was purchased, but it was completely unfinished. It all has to be refinished, painted, sanded down, visor put in, no electronics in it. And the Stormtrooper comes like a plastic model car kit. All the pieces are vacuum formed, but they're not fit to her at all. Everything has to be cut out, trimmed up, fit to her, and everything has to meet club standards. Everything is, you submit for an approval, you turn in photos. The club application members look over the group, and it's the same for both clubs. Look over everything, make sure it's accurate. Her armor, her Stormtrooper armor, is movie accurate down to the snaps, the buttons, where the positions of the snaps are, and everything. Her armor actually came from England. It's the original molds for the armor no longer exist, but the artist who created the original molds signed off on the molds that they used for that armor as being the closest to his originals as there are out there. So get it from England, got to wait for it to come in, then you got to put it together. It takes, depending on how much time you put into it and effort. I also have a Sand Trooper as part of the 501st Legion. I actually put both Sand Trooper and Stormtrooper costumes together in about a month. That's kind of hot and heavy, going at it every day trying to get it done. So all my Mando armor is metal. It's all made of metal. It comes in a flat sheet of metal from the hardware store, put the patterns on it, cut it all out, mold it, form it, blacksmithing kind of stuff basically. The holsters are leather that I created with the help of a leather worker that I know, that everything you cut out the leather, mold them, put them all together. So like I said, everything is pretty much custom made. So his stuff is all plastic. It's a sheet plastic, but it all has to be cut out and formed as well. The big thing, before you have any questions for me, the big thing is the chair. I can't see how close. There we go. The big thing is the charity aspect. That's why we do what we do. It's awesome to be able to dress up like a Star Wars character. It's awesome to be able to stand in a set of Stormtrooper armor that looks like you came from the movie. It's even more awesome when you're standing there doing it and looking through the visor at the faces of the kids that you're talking to and that you're dealing with. The adults are cool when you see the excited adults too, but watching the kids, that's why we do it.
Well, thank you so much for letting us know a little bit about your costumes and what you do. Before I start my questions, which I'm very eager for you to answer, does anybody else have any questions that they want to ask, or do you need a few minutes to think about something?
I'll ask a question. Sure. Thank you. For a child's Mandalorian armor like that, what would you sort of recommend, like keeping in mind for a budget for a project like that?
You know, with the, it's all about what you want to spend with everything. You can actually buy the armor that is made. It's made from a material called Sintra. It's a sheet PVC plastic. It comes in a 4x8 sheet. I think we got a 4x8 sheet for $35, $40. I have half a sheet left. I've made 2 kid-sized Mandalorian costumes out of it. We also made an adult Mandalorian for a friend of ours that used some stuff, and still have about a half a sheet left. The clothing, all his underclothes, is patterns that you can get from a local sewing store. Sew the patterns yourself. His boots are the end of winter. You grab some winter boots that they're now it's summer. They're trying to get rid of their winter boots. If I had to guess on a cost or budget for his armor, I would say he's easily less than $100 for him. My stuff is a little bit more expensive because the metal you pay a little bit more for. But then you got to figure the time. But you're not. You're doing it because it's fun and spending the time on it. But for a kid size, like a little Ray that wants to be a Mando, I would say you could probably get away with $100 for it.
Does anybody else have any other questions before Oh, you do. Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Newcomb.
Have you guys gotten to meet any, cool people along the way, such as actors or anybody like that? Any cool stories like that?
We have. We actually did a Star Wars fan film with Ron Newcomb. Oh, okay. No. That's not what you were going with? Okay. No, we have. You run into Star Wars actors from, can you grab my helmet? Just flip it open. At the cons, they're real big with the costuming groups. The 2 autographs that I have on the inside of my helmet are both from Boba Fett. Jeremy Bulloch was the original Boba Fett, was the main character for Boba Fett. His understudy, John Morton, was actually the one who filled in for him, but the most famous line where Boba Fett says, "He's no good to me dead," that was John Morton in the Boba Fett outfit. So it wasn't actually Jeremy Bulloch. John Morton also was the tail gunner for Luke in The Empire Strikes Back, on Hoth, in his snowspeeder, Dak, when Dak got hit, and Dak had a short scene and then got stepped on by AT-AT, but yeah, he was also Dak. Super nice guys, and they're really supportive of the club. Okay, I can't forget Weird Al. Weird Al Yankovic. Actually, he does when he does his concerts, his live concerts, he comes back on stage for an encore and does 2 Star Wars songs. One of them, he gets local members of the 501st Legion to get up on stage with him. You stand in the background, kind of at attention, looking all serious. Al gets into the song, and the stormtroopers kind of break out in a dance. You start dancing and looking a little goofy, and end up being kind of serious at the end. So we actually stood on stage with Weird Al. There's a part in the song where Al actually comes over and leans his head on one of the stormtroopers. When he did that, that was actually my wife. He walked over and leaned his head on her. So it's kind of cool. I mean, we're doing a lot of cool stuff, but we still get to geek out when we see these actors.
So one thing I've wanted to know is, obviously your daughter is Princess Leia. But as a fandom as a whole, what do you think is the draw to fans with the Stormtrooper cosplay, with the Mandalorian Mercs cosplay? What is the draw to so many fans wanting to tackle this cosplay? I mean, it seems slightly insane to want to make something that's so intricate. So what do you think?
And stand here in it in 95
And
degrees.
stand here in it in 88 degree weather on a summer day.
I think personally, I think it's classic. You know, it's been around for a long time. It's been around through multiple generations. You know, so you've got that group where, you know, I keep looking to the crowd over here with our you know, Krennic guard over here and his daughter who's dressed as well. So you've got this, you know, this generation span, and the Stormtroopers are iconic. You know, you see them every Star Wars movie. You see a Stormtrooper, everybody knows, oh, that's a Stormtrooper from Star Wars. Putting that together and standing in it and being, I'm one of those guys, I think is the biggest draw. I think, you know, you get a lot of people that recognize you. You get a lot of people that come up and say, you know, hey, Stormtrooper, how you doing? And it's just a lot of fun.
What are your thoughts, your general thoughts about, because I assume that you've gone to a lot of conventions at this point, a lot of cons, Comic Cons, Celebration maybe. What are your thoughts on those cosplayers who enter cosplay contests that did not make their own Mando or Stormtrooper armor? The people who get commissions, basically.
You know, there's some people even in, and we generally don't, let's say the difference between kind of a general cosplay and what we're doing is that our stuff has to be submitted for approval. It has to be checked out. You know, it's got to be specific.
By the 501st?
Right, by the 501st, as well as the Mandalorian Mercs. They have their own app team as well. But you know, so we've got people on our end that are purchasing items as well. If you're just not handy, you know, it's not about. I find it a lot of fun to make the costumes. I mean, I was going to say it's not about the build, but you know, I always say it is about the build. I'm actually the commanding officer for the state of Virginia for the Mandalorian Mercs for the Firestorm clan out here, and I say that a lot to new members that, you know, it's all about the build. But there's nothing wrong with getting your stuff somewhere, putting that stuff on, and going out and making people happy. You know, even if it's not something that you made, you know, I think it's good. Personally, I think it's good. You know, people are out here doing the things that we're doing nowadays. You know, it's hard to get people out to do anything anyway. You know, you get people out doing stuff like this. Like I said, personally, come on out, dress up. I'm happy with it.
Are there any other questions from our attendees about the 501st, about the Mercs Club? Okay, you have one more? Okay.
Round robin for the family. I want to see if there's any generational differences here. What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
I think that's a dangerous question. Is it too hard to choose?
Okay, you ready? Thinking? Okay, what's your...
I gotta say episode 4 because, I mean, why not? But I kind of like all of them equally, but probably episode 4 the most.
What about you, Brandon? What do you think?
I'd say probably episode 6 because of all the forest action and all of, like, everything that goes on is, like, really intense. That's what I like about that movie.
What do you... See if you can hold that up there. She can say it. It's 4.
I say I'm 4. She likes 4.
Episode 4.
Okay, and I got to go with episode 4. I'm a fan of the original. You know, I'm not going to discount the Hoth scene on episode 5. I really like that. You know, the battle, the Walker battle, and all that. The Yoda training scene was a little slow for me on that one. So it kind of, you know. But like I said, my 501st armor is I'm a sand trooper. The short but sweet sand trooper scenes in Tatooine on episode 4, I love them. I mean, that's just great, you know, because I sit there and look. My sand trooper is actually modeled off of the Move Along trooper, you know, move along, move along. Looks just like him. He's a captain. He's got the orange pauldron. The weathering on him is very similar to the weathering on that one. So I'm kind of partial to that one, but I got to go with episode 4. You know, start it all off. So what about you? What do you got? 6. Okay.
That last 20 minutes is just so intense.
Yeah.
There's the forest battle, the space battle, legend battle. It's just
And of course, those adorable Ewoks.
That's right. Yeah.
So, and believe we're coming up on time.
Okay.
Are there any don'ts when it comes to making armor or making a Star Wars cosplay? Any mistakes that you've made along the way or members of the club have made along the way that maybe other people can avoid?
You know,
I think
I
the
don't-
kids might have something to say about that.
they do. They
Yeah.
do. Yeah. Honestly, for me, I don't think. Well, yeah, I don't think there is. I think that's the biggest mistake. I think is I don't know if I can do it. You know, the biggest mistake is, and that, I think that goes with everything. I think that goes with you know, cosplay across the board, costuming across the board. I think it's the biggest mistake is, oh, I can't do that, you know, or oh, that's really cool, but I wouldn't be able to do that. When we started doing this, I mean, my wife has always been a sewer, but when I started doing this, I didn't sew, I didn't do leather working, I didn't do blacksmithing, metalworking. You know, I didn't do the painting, the weathering, you know, everything. So if you say, as your biggest mistake, say, I can't do that, then you never get to do it. I think that's what it is. That's my opinion. What do you think?
The one I find the most is don't let logos show. Because then it kind of gives away the whole purpose of Space Age.
What do you got?
Well, mine doesn't necessarily go with my costume, but if you have like a stormtrooper costume, don't forget to put fans in your helmets. We found that out the first event that we had.
Okay. Short story.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Short, quick war story. We started this off. We've been doing this now with approved costumes with the 501st and the Mando Mercs for about 3 years now. So 3 years ago, we Angel and I both submitted for our approval. She got her approval right away. Mine goes through a different group because it's Sand Troopers, so they were a little bit slower with mine. We had an event our first event that we went to was a national night out in Manassas Park. Neighboring jurisdiction over here. It was a August summer day. I was excited. I was getting to wear my stuff. You know, it wasn't official, wasn't approved yet, but I got to go wear my stuff. I think all I had was a packaged honey bun for breakfast that morning and nothing else. The helmets, the Stormtrooper helmets, because they're closed underneath, there's not much airflow, so she has fans actually inside the helmets to help cool her off. She has fans, but they're not working right now, so... I had fans in my helmet, and I had no batteries in the fans. I was all excited. I didn't put batteries in. I'm being quick. It got a little warm, needless to say, and I ended up taking a trip on the back of a golf cart back down to a aid station when the heat finally got to me, leaving my Sand Trooper yard sale, we call it, on the ground behind me where they started pulling armor panels off of me. So, yes, fans in your helmets. Make sure you got batteries in your fans. But, no, like I said, I think the biggest thing, you know, don't say I can't do it.
Okay. And really random, for the plastic and for the metal, I mean, you're doing this at home. How are you bending it? How are you working with the metal? Like, do you just have just a blacksmith setup or like a whole bunch of fire at your house
It's
to
not.
to bend all this?
Yeah, we're not actually forging anything.
Okay.
It is, we buy it as a piece of sheet metal. And we do have, I do have a plasma cutter so we can cut the pieces out. We have anvils, hammers, hollowed out logs, you know, that you're using for bending and things like that. And what we do is we get together as a group. We have, occasionally we have armor parties that we advertise on our boards. We get together as a group, we come together as a group, we work on each other's armor, help other people do it. So if some people don't have tools to do it, we're fortunate enough that we have some space, that we've got enough, sewing machines and metalworking, things like that. So we invite people over to the house. We get together as a group and kind of, I use my tools, you use your tools, bring what you got, and
It's a nice
help each other
community.
out. Right, and that's, I just want to say before, I know we're running out of time, there's some flyers up front if you guys have some questions. 501st, Mando Mercs, the websites are on there. The group is open to everybody. Everything is done on a forum board. So it's free to sign up on the board. You sign up, get a username. You come on the board. You can see where all the events are. We have Facebook pages that show where the events are and where the members are going to be located. If you want to come out and see them.
So, piggybacking on the community aspect, exactly how, because I go to a lot of conventions, a lot. Feels like every weekend sometimes. And the 501st is always set up. So explain to us exactly how big is the 501st and the Mercs Club?
I think, like I said, they're both worldwide international groups. So we've got, I think the Mercs are much smaller than the 501st, but I think we have members in 50 different countries throughout the world for the Mercs. I believe we have members at least in every state, and the way that we're generally broken down is by state. Now you get a clan is what the groups were called, the Mercs, the Mandalorians back in lore. I don't want to say history because history implies that it existed, and I don't want to imply that the Star Wars universe existed yet, but we'll find that out later on, maybe in history. But so they're broken down by groups. Like I said, I'm the commanding officer. I think I have about 30 guys in Virginia that are official members in Virginia. I would say that the Virginia 501st is probably more upwards of 100 plus. We seem to kind of have areas in Virginia where we're located. There's a lot of people in Northern Virginia. We kind of have a Richmond group, a Virginia Beach area. We kind of have some, and then we've got some in Southwest Virginia. I would say club-wise, worldwide, I think the 501st is up over 17,000 members.
Wow.
Yeah, the Mercs, like I said, is not quite as big, a couple thousand members. But you figure if you got 20, 30 people in every state, just in the United States, that's about how many people, for the Mercs, that's how many people you're looking at. So they're definitely big groups. And I don't want to discredit the Rebel Legion, because the Rebel Legion is, we just don't have Rebel costumes. We're not members of the Rebel Legion. We were kind of drawn towards the dark side a little more than the Rebel group.
Watch your backs, guys.
Well, see, and me, Mandalorians don't believe in the Force. We go where the money's at. So.
Yes.
That's right. The money is our Force. That's it.
What did you all think of the depiction of the Mandalorians? They got a lot of screen time in the Clone Wars, which was really great. Because prior to that, it was just like, who are they all?
Yeah.
So what did you think about their depiction there? They're not a whole bunch in Rebels, but in Clone Wars, they got a lot of screen time. How did that maybe influence maybe the costuming or how you guys went about doing your cosplay?
They also, actually, the newer cartoon, the Star Wars Rebels, they're getting a whole lot of. They're actually going back farther into the history in that new. I mean, you say cartoons, you would think for kids, but there's more history and lore in these kind of Clone Wars and the Rebels. But yeah, it definitely shows the familyness of the group. They take in all races. They take in ragtags. It's a community, a culture. And I think the Clone Wars definitely showed that. You do have your in any family, any culture, you do have your rebels. The Death Watch with the Mandalorians, they were not good guys. They were like the terrorists of the Mandos. Those Clone Wars cartoons and everything goes into that. I mean, deeply goes into all that. And then picking up with the rebels, showing that you got Sabine working on being the next Mandalore here.
Any chance of a Sabine-inspired helmet or anything from you?
Well, I have a Mando as well, but it's a regular helmet like my brother and my dad's. But she's kind of like Sabine in a way, I feel. But yeah, kinda.
Yeah. There's actually within the Mando group, because you have to. Everything is based on canon, and they've changed canon recently within the Star Wars universe that they've gotten rid of some things, but anything that shows up in print basically is canon. So you may not have been in a movie. I say that all the time. I say I haven't been in a movie yet. That's my, well, who are you? Are you Boba Fett? Well, no, I'm not Boba Fett. I haven't been in a movie yet. But we do within the club. You can do the different eras of the Mandos. You have the modern era, which is what this is. What looks like Boba Fett and Jango Fett. You've got the early Crusaders. You got the Neo Crusaders. It's a whole different style, and that's all based on comic books, Clone Wars, things like that. So that has a lot of impact on the club. Depending on what path you choose to go down.
Predictions for the next season of Rebels. Woo! Everyone loves Who does not like Star Wars Rebels? You come talk to me later.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been getting bringing the
Pretty
Mandos,
crazy.
Well, bringing the Mandos more into it, I really like. But I'm a Mando fan anyway. So, but yeah, it's the one thing that you think about is and not like thought spoiler alerts for you is this was the Rebels is set before Episode 4, and you don't see any of those characters in Episode 4. So, just a thought. So,
I don't like thinking that way.
That's right. That's right. The ship does show up in Rogue One. The Ghost actually shows up in Rogue One, and the Rex, old Rex. Actually, there was just something I just saw that they confirmed that
that is now canon.
Yes, they confirmed that the older gray-bearded trooper on Endor, when they were storming the controls for the shield generator there, actually just confirmed that yes, that is an older Captain Rex. So
to kind of wrap up, obviously they can come get your literature over there to find out more about the Mercs Club and the 501st Legion. How can people, as step one, if they're interested, become a member of 501st?
The first step for either group is get on the boards. Like I said, everything is done through the forum boards. It's all free to join the boards. You get on the board, you get yourself a screen name, and don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how the community works in this group. Is that you could sit down yourself, looking at pictures, looking at there's costume requirements that this has to look like this and this and this and this. You can sit down there and do that and build your armor, but it's a whole lot more fun and a whole lot more informative to get in and just start chatting on the board, start talking to people, put a message out there. Hey, I introduced myself. This is who I am. This is what I'm interested in, and you would be surprised at the number of responses that you get back. Everybody is so helpful. It's not a no, you're doing the wrong thing. No, we don't want you here. It's a hey, try this. But get on the boards, introduce yourself. Start reading things that's going on, and that goes across the board for all the groups because they all work the same way. The Mercs does that. We do that. I know as soon as some new member, I make a point. I have a command staff. I've got a second in command, and then I have that's a sergeant. That's my armor person. They're in charge of looking at the armor before it gets to the app team. As soon as the new member comes on, everybody's jumping on the board. Hey, how you doing? Don't be afraid to ask questions. Make sure
That's
check
great.
us out. Here's our armor parties. We got an armor party coming up here. Come and hang out and get some pointers. So, yeah, get on the boards and listen to what's going on and get started. Everybody.
Well, thank you all so much for being here for DrawnyCon's first panel ever, How to Become a Stormtrooper. We really appreciate it. It was very informative. And if anybody wants to know anything else about the 501st, please come and talk to Randy and Angel and ask them anything that you want to know.
She won't talk much, but she does.
She won't talk much.
She does a lot of nodding and thumbs up. So
Thank you all so much.
Thanks
We
a lot.
appreciate it.